Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another riveting episode of Absence Minded. Um, if any of you have seen the movie The Help, there is a line from that movie that I thought of constantly leading up to this episode where she says something about there's something about frying chicken that just makes you feel better about life. And that is how I feel about the topic of our podcast episode today. We are going to be talking about as we enter a new year. The thing that we all love doing at the beginning of a year, I know, is taking a look at our existing HR and employment policies and seeing if they need revising. But in all trueness, I love this. I love FMLA leave policy. It is like the best back to basics reset of life that I can imagine. And so our kind of special topic today is to walk you through, hey, we've reviewed hundreds of FMLA policy in our day, Christine and I both, and these are the things that we commonly identify as missing or that could use kind of bolstered up potentially in your FMLA leave policy. And you're going to take this set of recommendations from us and you're going to apply it, and it's just going to make you feel better about life. And so we do highly recommend that you catch today's episode visually. We know that on some platforms, we are truly just a podcast, but we are going to have, in addition to talking you through some of the things we commonly see missing in your policies, we are going to have some sample language available for you on the screen as a freebie takeaway from today's episode. So as unfortunate as this might sound, we are asking that you actually look at our faces during today's episode. It will be okay. Christine is radiant and always, and I don't need a pretty face to have this job. So we're all going to get through it. And hopefully you really enjoy what we're here to talk about today. And Christine is going to kick us off. We have kind of the top 5 list of common things that are missing, plus a bonus item. So go ahead, Christine.
Well, I'm going to, what were you going to say?
Sorry. I was going to give the pathway to check this out visually. So you can actually catch our podcast with the video, the complimentary video of our beautiful faces at www.tpg.com/absence minded podcast. Or if you just visit the front part of that website at tpgrp.com and visit the About Us section, you can find us that way.
All right. Well, I'm going to take over from the very beautiful Brycie, for the record. And I love what you said about, making fried chicken makes your day better, whatever that phrase was. For me, I'm going to say cheese, like eating cheese is going to make my day better. It's pretty much my favorite food group or favorite thing ever. Depends upon what the day looks like. So let's dig right in. So I'm going to take the top 3 items that we think are missing from your FMLA policy. And I'm going to paraphrase a couple of them, again, because we're encouraging you to look at these visually so that you can see exactly what we're saying and potentially incorporate some of that language into your own policies. But the first one that we're going to highlight is timely filing expectations and consequences of that. So what are we talking about with timely filing expectations? So we're talking about requiring your employees, when they have a leave that is foreseeable, requiring that they give you 30 days advance notice of that leave. When the leave is not foreseeable, there can be some exceptions for that, but we still want to make sure that you are specifically outlining what are the company's normal absence reporting policy requirements. Again, absent unusual circumstances. So what I'm saying here is avoid language such as report as soon as practicable or report as soon as possible. We want specific, non-wishy-washy language that outlines to your employees how far in advance do they need to report that time. 1 hour? 2 hour? Who do they report it to? Do they report it to HR? Do they report it to their manager? Do we have a TPA in play? We're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. And then how does that information need to be relayed to you? Can they send you a text message? Do they need to make voice contact with someone? Can they leave a voicemail? When you define this detail specifically, it can feel burdensome. It can feel administrative. Sometimes it can feel a little bit condescending. Let's be honest here. It's going to save you some headache in the future when you have that employee who tries to report an absence via Facebook Messenger or Instagram DM or whatever they call it. I don't have Instagram. I don't know what you call it. I'm just saying be specific about how employees and at what time they need to file their leave and what are the consequences of doing that. So outline what's going to happen if they don't follow those procedures. It may be that the absences are not eligible for protection or eligibility under company paid leave programs and could be subject to the usual and customary attendance policy. You can do things like this as long as you have it clearly outlined in your policy.
And are following it consistently. So
Yes.
I think what we see, like 9 times out of 10, everybody's got like the same language in here, and it's language that we've all borrowed specifically from the FMLA, regulations that just says, 30 days advance notice for foreseeable leaves as soon as practicable, which what does even practicable mean?
It's different for you and I. Like,
Yeah.
it's very subjective.
I like taking that language as a guide, putting it into terms everybody can understand. And I am a big believer in setting a number of days and saying flat out, if this absence in connection with this leave is reported more than X number of days late, it's out. We're not going to review it under the leave, absent undue circumstances. And which does mean that the attendance policy will dictate how that absence is managed. So this is a gift that FMLA gives us, and we want to make sure that we're setting very specific expectations in our policy around when it's too late for the reporting of absences. And this should really help those of you who have experienced the issue where we're writing someone up for attendance, and all of a sudden these absences from 30 days ago are related to somebody's need for FMLA.
All right, take that gift, embrace it. So number 2 is going to be specifically outlining 2 things. It's kind of a twofer in here. The consequences of failure to provide certification. So we're talking about the medical certification forms. If you have forms that may be required, can't be medical certification for bonding purposes, family caregiving situations, and then also what's going to happen if the leave is misused or abuse. So when we're talking about failure to provide a certification, we want to be very clear. Again, absence unusual circumstances, which again are unusual. Failure to comply with notice and certification requirements may result in delay or denial of leave. Be clear that is going to be the consequence if they do not follow through in providing the required certification information. And then the second part of this one is, and I don't see this in a lot of policies. So as Brycie said, we've done hundreds of policies reviews. This is something that I'm almost always adding, is an employee who fraudulently obtains family and medical leave from X company is not protected. They're not protected by the company's job restoration or maintenance of health benefits provision. Make sure that you put that in your policy. It gives you a clear pathway for those rare circumstances where an employee may be taking advantage of a situation.
And I think the spirit of this is that we as employers have rights under FMLA. We have remedies under FMLA. We're not always seeing those things spelled out in your FMLA policies. And we want to make sure that and that your employees know, like, where we apply consequences if this process is not followed correctly, or if this leave is not obtained through, a truthful and honest need.
And the next one on here, it has some overlaps into the first one that we talked about with regards to timely filing expectations. But this one is going to be specific leave request submission expectations for and intermittent absence reporting expectations. So specifically with regards to intermittent absences, we need to outline, employers, you need to outline all intermittent absences must be reported to X. Again, is it manager, HR? Do you have a TPA in there? Within X days from date of usage. So 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. I typically recommend 5 days from date of usage, that is. I typically recommend like a shorter time frame for employees to report that intermittent absence time, because what you want to avoid is being in a disciplinary meeting with an employee and you say, December 2nd is receiving an attendance point, and that employee tells you, oh, no, that was FMLA. No. If you outline they have 2 days to report that from the date of usage, that's how you avoid those types of situations. And then again, we want to talk a little bit about when the need for leave is unforeseeable, employees must contact X person, prescribe who that is as soon as possible, but no later than the date they're scheduled to work. So keep that type of detail in mind when you're writing your intermittent absence reporting requirements. And also keep in mind that it is permissible for you to have dual reporting requirements for leave. So it is permissible, and there is a number of case law examples to support this, but it is permissible to tell your employees, you need to not only call us, employer, but you also need to report this to your third-party administrator and follow, again, those requirements of reporting that time within X days of usage. As long as the guideline or these rules are clearly outlined, we have them in the policies, they're in leave notifications that may be coming from your organization or the third-party administrator who's helping you manage leave, you can enforce a dual reporting requirement. And you can also outline that if your employees do not follow these expectations, it may result in denial of leave, and the absences may be subject to disciplinary action.
Yeah, I would just say too that maybe like one of the more advanced moves to be made here is I do think it's okay to have a separate and distinct timely filing expectation related to a new leave request.
Yes.
Versus
good point.
Reporting of intermittent time. So where I'm a fan of like hey, if your absence was more than 30 days ago, it's not going to be reviewed in conjunction with this new leave request. It's too far. Once that leave has been requested and we've put you on notice of here's how to report your absences on a go forward basis, I am 100% comfortable with kind of like pulling that timely filing expectation in even closer and saying, you need to notify our TPA of this within 2 days. That's in our policy. We've communicated it to you in your leave acknowledgement packet and your notice of eligibility. Another important thing, though, here is that these really have to be enforced consistently. And that's an important message to deliver to your frontline manager. We can't have different, departments handling these timely filing expectations differently. It's always important in policy that the provisions are administered consistently. And then the other thing I wanted to call out is for those of you who are utilizing a third-party administrator for absence or even have leave technology in place, we want to make sure that when we're setting up these timely filing expectations that our software or our vendor has the capability to administer to them. So double check there before you publish your updated policy.
Absolutely. And another thing that just came to mind, Brycie, when we're talking about this is when your employees are requesting leave, another obligation that you want to make them aware of is that they need to provide sufficient information to make the leave representative, so it might be your manager, it might be someone internally, that the leave is FMLA qualifying. So just saying sick without providing more information, that's not enough to notice that FMLA, that's not enough notice to trigger that FMLA may be in play. So that's another thing to add to those policies too. All right. Now it's your turn. I think you've got the last few to bring us home.
Okay. One that we wanted to touch on that we actually did a whole episode on already, so I'm not going to cover it too in depth, is the concept of integration language. So this is where we have different, we have leave plans that kind of run concurrent, intersect with each other. The podcast episode we did on this was very specific to paid family and medical leave and how that plays and interacts with FMLA and paid parental leave and short-term disability. This is an opportunity for you to explain in your leave policies themselves how your different leave plans integrate and coordinate with each other, where there are potentially offsets. So I kind of just have the three biggies of what you get out of putting good integration language in your policy. And again, it should be on the screen, an actual sample set of language here. So A, it's going to set the expectation that where it's applicable and where it's permitted under state law, that paid family and medical leave is going to run concurrent with your other leave plans. Set that expectation right in your policy to set the stage for avoiding any of those stacking issues. B, it sets the expectation that existing leave pay plans are going to be offset by any paid family and medical benefits that an employee is eligible to receive. So there again, we're not only coordinating the leave entitlements, we're running those concurrent, we're also coordinating the pay. And where maybe last year we paid 100% through our paid parental leave plan. Well, now this year there's a paid family and medical leave plan in plan in play. And that's now going to be the first payer, and our plan is going to make up the difference. And then C, it's really a great opportunity for you to define how top-off of a paid leave benefit works with company PTO. And I think this is really the perfect place to house that supplementation information. And also, again, where this is permitted under state law, it's a great place for you to house any information on the kind of the order of operations when it comes to supplementation and top up, the parameters that you might be able to set to make the process of topping up a little more administratively easier for you. And this is things like, okay, if you choose to top up, this is the order that we're going to go in. We're defining that so that we're limiting the amount of choice that you have in this process to ease our administrative burden. Or you can ask us to top up, but when you do that, just know that we're going to top up to 100% each week. We can't be picking and choosing. I want to top up to 80% this week and then 20% this week. Again, for any of those discussions, it's really good to understand the regulations in your specific state. Some states we have more leeway than others, but these are I think the big three things that are good to be communicated in your leave policies where it comes to how these leave and time off plans intersect. Number 5, we're recommending that you include specific instructions around the payment of benefit premiums while on leave, how you expect that to happen, and the consequences of not making timely payment on those benefit premiums. And so we often see, again, like language pulled straight from the regulations under FMLA on this, like, yes, there's an expectation that you pay your premiums while you're on leave, the end. And without clear guidance on how we expect that to happen. Are we providing options? Are we allowing you to submit checks for your premium payments while you're on leave, or have those build up in arrears and then recoup them when you come back to work? Are those two options available? Are we taking benefit premium payments from any pay you receive from us while you're on a leave of absence? Most of us, of course, we are. Are we actively billing you for premium payments when you're on a leave and expecting that you send us checks? And that is the path. And if we're not getting payment, what is our recourse? Again, we have rights here as employers. We can turn off benefits for an employee that's not paying timely while they're on a leave of absence, but it is so important that we communicate upfront the timeline for that. There's specific language in the FMLA regulations that really helps to spell that out for us. And when those benefits are continuation of those benefits are potentially at risk.
The other thing I was going to add there too, Brycie, which this could be a whole other podcast episode, is making sure that whatever language you have within your policy not only meets the regulatory requirements, I think that's clear, but also matches what your summary plan descriptions say with regard to benefit continuation when an employee is on leave. So we see a lot of handbooks that say benefits will continue as if you had continued to work for the duration of your leave. Well, that's a problem. Like, what if someone is on leave for 2 years? So you're just going to continue to allow an employee to only pay their portion of the premiums for 2 years. If that is in conflict with what's in the summary plan description, that's an issue that's, potentially for another podcast. So there's really kind of a couple places to check when you're putting this language in your handbook, the other place being your summary plan description.
All right. Our honorable mention, number 6 is, I don't know if anyone has had this issue where somebody goes on leave and then they go completely AWOL. You do not hear from them. You cannot track them down. You don't know where they are. I think that it's just a really great idea if we leverage our existing policy to set really good expectations on how often and to whom we are expecting an employee to communicate with us while they're on a leave of absence. So I really like to set the expectation that an employee checks in at least once every 30 days on how they're doing, their return to work plans. And I think it's great to put very specifics in your policy as far as like, who am I checking in with? How am I checking in with this person? Up to and including being specific that a call needs to be placed to maybe your manager and the leave team, or whatever that needs to look like for you. I love it when that language is included in our policy.
And you are allowed to ask your employees to do that, because I know I've had a couple clients, and I'm sure, Brycie, you have too, where employees will say, you can't ask me to work while on leave. We're not asking you to work. We're asking you to check in. This is a very distinct and separate ask. But I have had a couple situations where employees from time to time will think that that's even just too much to require of them when on FMLA, and we absolutely can. So
this
right.
and kind of making this change organizationally also, like, it pairs really well with an FMLA manager and supervisor training, where we help them understand what conversations they should and shouldn't be having with employees on leave. So if we're going to ask that they own the check-in, we want to make sure that we're arming them with tools and resources on how that conversation should be happening.
All right. Well, any other final thoughts, Brycie? Otherwise, I think we set you up for 2026.
Yeah, enjoy dusting off those FMLA policies. I'm sure, like me, it's just going to make you feel better about life.
Now, Brycie and I are going to go eat some cheese and fried chicken. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
The information provided in this podcast is for general information and education purposes only. It's not intended to be and should not be construed as legal, financial, or human resources advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and policies regarding leave management vary by jurisdiction and may change over time. Listeners should consult with a qualified attorney, HR professional, or relevant expert for advice specific to their situation. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of their employers or any affiliated organizations.